Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our 60th anniversary celebration. When I say that we're delighted and honored to have you as our guest today, that would really be the understatement of the century. We're so appreciative of the contributions that all of you on this Zoom session have made to our company. We very much wish that we could all be together, and we truly regret the fact that we're not. I am Jonathan Jones. I'm a civil engineer. I've been highly privileged to work at this great company for the past 40 years and to have the association with Ken and Ruth Wright that I've had. A quick note about our Zoom session today. If you would please select speaker view on your screen. Sally advises me that's typically in the upper right portion of your screen. And unless you're speaking, if you could be on mute, that would be good. We're going to commence with the program now. We've got a great program lined up over the next hour, lots of interesting people. And we're kicking this off with our project manager, Carl Kingry, an outstanding civil engineer. And we've been privileged as a company to work all over the United States, truly in all 50 states, and internationally widely as well. And what we most treasure about our work everywhere are the dear friends that we've made, not just professional associations, but close friendships, as is evident from the discussion we were having prior to getting started today. One of our favorite clients has been Lyle Hosada, who's joining us from the beautiful Hawaiian Islands. It's 8 a.m. Lyle's time. He has a deposition coming up in an hour. He tells us he's already billed 3 hours today. He's a fabulous attorney, but an even more fabulous person. And he and Carl have something to share with you. Again, sincere thanks for joining us today.
Hi, my name is Carl Kingry. We're fortunate to have Lyle Hosada on the call. We've worked with Lyle on a few different projects. And Lyle, I think you've prepared a few remarks.
Thank you to both John and Carl. I bid everyone on the Zoom aloha from Hawaii. Congratulations to Ken, Ian, John, Carl, Wayne, Andrew, and your entire Wright Water team on this very special milestone achievement. Your outstanding team of professionals has been together since about the same amount of time that I've been walking this earth. It's hard to believe, but our relationship is already coming upon a decade, having met and worked together on a case arising out of perhaps one of Hawaii's worst storm events in 2010. I treasure our relationship that we have. While Google reports that there are 3,338 miles that separate Denver from Hawaii, Honolulu actually, there's not a single measurement of time or space that separates our hearts or our minds. While I could go on and on about your professionalism, your achievements, your honors, your accolades, passion, ethics, and commitment, what I want to tell everybody about is a recent event that shows what sets you apart from all others. John alluded to this. I've been a trial attorney here in Honolulu for 36 years. Less than 60 days ago, I suffered from the biggest and darkest setbacks or challenges in my career. I actually missed an expert report deadline, a case that I was working on with Wright Water Engineers. After I pulled myself out of the crying fetal position with my thumb in my mouth, I had to get up and get on the line and call John and Carl to confess what had happened and that I needed a 911 rescue help from them. After a very lengthy call trying to figure out what the options were, I will never, ever forget for the rest of my life what he told me at the end of that call. He said, Lyle, look, we stand behind you no matter what it takes. We stand behind you and we're with you. You have my cell phone number. You can call me at any time, night or day, weekday or weekend. We will get through this. It was our own Ulysses S. Grant who's attributed with the quote of, "The friend in my adversity I shall always cherish most. I can better trust those who help to relieve the gloom of my dark hours than those who are so ready to enjoy with me the sunshine of my prosperity. If anything, this pandemic has helped us to figure out what is the most important to us all. We must take nothing for granted. Special friends, special experiences must be celebrated and treasured. To you, my special friends, I thank you and congratulate you on being the very special and caring team of professionals and human beings that you are. Congratulations on this milestone achievement, and all my wholehearted aloha to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyle. Those are very kind remarks, and I can say that the feeling is, goes both ways. We've appreciated working with you and with all of our other clients. Lyle was gracious enough to send over these beautiful flowers from Hawaii, and while we don't normally drink on the job, he sent over some wonderful wine from a fellow Hawaiian, which we have a bottle here with the Good Luck Fish Hook. And I'd like to raise a toast with Lyle and Ian Payton, our president, to all of our existing clients and to many more years of productive work and wonderful relationships. So to Lyle and all of our other clients, thank you.
It's actually only 8 o'clock here, but I'm ready and I've loaded my glass, so I'm going to drink with you.
Cheers. Excellent. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, we have Ian here. He's going to tell us about the rest of the program for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. And thank you, Lyle. We really appreciate this new tradition you've started for us to have wine every Friday at noon here at the office. So thank you very much. Well, my name's Ian Payton, and I'm honored to have worked at Wright Water Engineers for over 20 years. We're going to start the program today with a short video that takes a look back at the history of Wright Water, and which also takes a look forward to the future of the company. And it's a terrific video. I think you'll enjoy it. Then after the video, we are honored to have Monika Vischer from Colorado Public Radio join us to interview Ken Wright, which will be followed by comments from some of our talented scientists and engineers. Finally, if you'd like to stay on at the end, there will be an open forum for folks to ask questions or share their thoughts about their experiences working with Wright Water over the past 60 years. So with that, we hope you enjoy the celebration, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Wright. I founded Wright Water Engineers back in 1961, and I'm very happy to be here today to celebrate our 60th anniversary.
Wright Water Engineers is a full-service water resources engineering firm. We work in all aspects of water. We're concerned about the quantity of water, but we also work with the quality of water. Our philosophy is to design with nature, not against nature, and as professional engineers, we always place paramount protecting public health, safety, and welfare. In 1996, we received the Colorado Ethics and Business Award, and then in 1999, we received the American Business and Ethics Award. We are delighted to have received these because they go to our core values of placing the public first and designing in harmony with nature and in practicing engineering the right way and the ethical way.
In the 1960s, when we began working in urban drainage, we found that the situation was in chaos.
The drainage situation in the 1960s was really a patchwork of improvements done by individual cities and counties, and oftentimes an improvement that one community would do would be to the detriment of their downstream neighbor. The Urban Drainage and Flood Control District was created in 1969 by a legislative act. It started in 1965 when the South Platte River flooded, and although there had been floods on the South Platte River since the 1800s, this was the worst one to date. Now, on the heels of that flood, engineers from 5 counties formed a drainage advisory committee to the Denver Regional Council of Governments and lobbied State Senator Joe Shoemaker to draft legislation to create the flood district. And this drainage advisory committee worked with Dr. Cog to commission Ken Wright's firm to author the Urban Storm Drainage Criteria Manual.
I prepared the Urban Storm Drainage Criteria Manual based in part on the work of D. Earl Jones, the father of John Jones.
Earl Jones was my father, and he was a visionary civil engineer. In the 1960s and 70s, he was helping to create significant advancements in urban water resources. And he frequently wrote and spoke about an approach to land development that he called blue-green. It was in the 1960s that Ken Wright adopted the philosophies of my father, and they worked together on the 1969 Denver Urban Storm Drainage Criteria Manual, which remains a landmark document in our field. The shovel to my right was found by Ken and Earl on their last field trip together in 1991.
Wright Water Engineers has had a number of landmark projects over the years. One of the most memorable was for the Adolph Course Company that I started in 1963, meaning that we've been working for them for nearly 60 years.
In the 1960s, Wright Water Engineers was hired by Coors to help increase water supply for their Golden Brewery by over 10 times to support the growth of the business. Once their portfolio was strong enough, Coors needed to pursue an augmentation plan to protect its water rights on Clear Creek. Wright Water Engineers worked with Jack Ross, Bill Turtelot, Lyle Bush, and Neil Jacquet to build the first augmentation plan in the state in 1977. Wright Water Engineers' tenacity and hard work is the reason Coors has become the largest single-site brewery location in the United States. That spirit of going to bat for the client is what has made Wright Water Engineers successful for so long.
The concept of water augmentation plants in Colorado was initiated by Felix Sparks, who was chairman of the Colorado Water Conservation Board. He called me in 1967 and said he needed help on devising a plan for better utilization of water resources. After 2 years of study, I came up with a plan for utilization of junior water rights to support well users as well as other junior water rights.
Natural resource management in Colorado and nationally has changed dramatically since 1975. There are today a suite of environmental laws and environmental protections that now cover every aspect of natural resources, whether it's water development, energy development, regulation of wildlife and public lands. There's been a very, very thorough transformation of environmental protection. The role that Wright Water Engineers have played in this evolution has been significant. They have truly helped make a difference in protecting the state's water quality, the state's beauty, the state's overall environmental health, for which we are all very, very grateful.
The role of Wright Water Engineers in making the South Platte River an amenity started in early 1960s when Joe Shoemaker and I devised a plan for improving the environmental quality of the river and its banks.
One of the real challenges of Colorado is to manage the South Platte River and to do it in a way where it doesn't hurt agriculture and that it provides the water that quite often Denver needs.
The South Platte River, the main river through Denver, was a mess. It was a mile wide and an inch deep. Banks were filled with landfills, a lot of pollution.
It was incredible. People would dump their used refrigerators down there, their automobiles. That whole South Platte River Valley was just a mess. And a bunch of very far-sighted people, including the Wrights, saw that we could take this place that was one of the unsightly places and turn it into one of the beautiful places.
Another important project of Wright Water Engineers was my serving as special assistant to Governor Richard Lamb for the big Thompson Flood restoration. The big Thompson Flood started on Colorado Day back in 1976.
I was awoken at about 2:30 in the morning by a state legislator that lived up there. And he said that there was a real disaster in the making. That flood was the biggest trauma of my 12 years in office. It killed 133 people, including a state patrolman. Again, I turned to Ken Wright as a wise man to help me make the kind of decisions that had to be made.
I've had the opportunity of, across the board, working with Wright Water Engineers, really exciting projects, meaningful projects, projects that absolutely have affected the future of the state. And I have just such high regard for the quality of people at Wright Water Engineers, their professionalism, and their dedication to public service when called upon.
The core philosophy of the company is exemplified by the young staff that we have. We have great enthusiasm for the work that we perform around the United States for public and private sector clients. And we really are very sincerely motivated to help our country and to help the environment.
I've been working at Wright Water Engineers for 2 years after being an intern here during college. And Wright Water Engineers has given me the opportunity to work on lots of different projects that promote my interest in supporting a healthy environment. I've also had the opportunity to network and get involved in professional organizations and meet engineers from across the state and country that support my career.
Wright Water Engineers would not be the company it is if not for the hardworking staff that we've had over the years.
I'm Patricia Flood, and I've worked at Wright Water Engineers for 42 years. I work primarily in the field of water rights. One of the strengths of Wright Water Engineers are its longtime employees. Recently, 2 employees have retired. Bill Laura, who headed up our Glenwood Springs office, and Chuck Haynes. We have a number of employees who have worked for Wright Water over 15 years.
33 very good and always interesting years.
30 very interesting and fulfilling years.
31 years of research and fun.
28 never a boring day years.
Celebrating my 28th year at Wright Water Engineers.
26 exciting and educational years.
24 whirlwind years.
22 years of working on fascinating projects with amazing people.
A wonderful 19 years.
18 exciting years.
16 fabulous years.
15 active years.
Thank you to all employees, old and new, who have helped Wright Water Engineers to be successful.
As we stand here at Confluence Park, where the South Platte and Cherry Creek rivers join together, this is a great example of work that Ken Wright did several decades ago to transform an area that was once a dumping ground into a recreational jewel that people enjoy year-round. And this is just one example of the legacy of Wright Water Engineers and the work that's been done to benefit the region, people of Colorado, and well beyond, across the entire country. All of the projects that we work on at Wright Water Engineers take nature into consideration in some form. For example, we're working on channel restoration projects where we're stabilizing channels that have been modified because of urbanization. We're working for following wildfires and planning and predicting what kind of increased flooding and potential for debris flows could occur in a watershed following a fire.
As an employee for Wright Water Engineers, I was able to work on this post-wildfire hydrology work both for the city of Aspen and for Garfield County as they develop their hazard mitigation plan. There are many communities that are interested in becoming more resilient in our changing climate, and Wright Water Engineers is on the forefront of that work, helping many communities on the western slope become more resilient and more prepared when wildfires do occur and they are faced with the hazards that result.
If you look around and you see the Wright's contribution, this isn't something that's going to last for a season or a year or two. They helped build institutions and infrastructure that will help our great-grandchildren. Their contribution will be significant and lasting.
It's so important that we be stewards of our earth. There's no other place to go. And it is such an exquisite place that is taking care of us, the fish in the ocean and the animals on the land. And if we destroy that, we're actually destroying our home and ourselves.
Looking towards the future, there clearly will be enormous challenges associated with working with nature in the water resources arena. Wright Water Engineers is right in the middle of evaluating all of these issues. And whereas they can appear to be monumental challenges, they also provide extraordinary opportunities, particularly for the younger staff that we have at our company. We're blessed to have people at a younger age who have great ethics, a strong commitment to helping society, a very strong commitment to protecting the environment and working with nature. And I have all the confidence in the world that over the next 60 years, they will help to guide us locally and at a state level and nationally towards successful resolution of these issues.
I think I speak on behalf of everyone at Wright Water Engineers when I say how grateful we are to Ken Wright for founding the company 60 years ago, which has given us all an opportunity to do such meaningful work.
Thank you again for joining us today and for helping us to celebrate our 60th anniversary. And we sincerely appreciate the contributions that each of you have made to helping us become a successful company. Again, thank you.
See you bright and early tomorrow morning.
As many of you know, there's some truth to that last statement, even though tomorrow is Saturday. Hello, everyone. My name is Wayne Lorenz. I am a public works engineer with Wright Water. The really nice video we just watched reminds me how fortunate I have been to have been associated and have worked here at Wright Water for 26 of those 60 years. I am proud to have worked on many projects that have addressed public health and have improved the environment. You know, it is my honor now to introduce Ruth Wright and welcome her today. Ruth has had a key role in supporting WWE for the past 60 years. Ruth has been a practicing attorney and has contributed to the public with her 14-year service as a representative in the state legislature, and with 6 of those as minority leader. She has been active in contributing her time and wisdom to many, many environmental issues. Ruth is here today to talk about the beginnings of the company and the overarching philosophy of the firm. Ruth Wright.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. The 1960s were heady times for Ken and me. Ken, after college, went to Saudi Arabia and worked as a construction engineer, and I joined him there after we were married. If there's any place that's going to tell you and let you know the importance of water, it's the deserts of Saudi Arabia. We came back, Ken went and got his degree at Wisconsin, and master's degree in water resources engineering. Then he worked for the Bureau of Reclamation, Pete Wheeler, who taught him water rights. And finally, in 1961, we decided to go off on our own. It was risky, but Ken worked very, very hard, went all over the state, going to all sorts of little towns and communities, introducing himself. And that was the beginning of 60 years of Wright Water Engineers. I became a bookkeeper, and I'd had this Renaissance education in philosophy and English, and I knew nothing about bookkeeping. So I had to take a crash course because I was not only doing the bookkeeping, but also the billing. So I became very much a part of Wright Water Engineers at the very beginning. It opened up a whole new world for us that we had never experienced before. we met so many wonderful, influential, brilliant people in the next years that it opened this world that we appreciate, and these people have become our colleagues and friends over the years. First would be Dick Lamb. Dick we had known from Colorado Mountain Club, but then of course he became the governor, and I had worked very hard for his campaign in Boulder County, so he eventually appointed me to the Water Quality Control Commission, and that's another story. But I want to mention the big Thompson Flood. It was on Colorado Day, August 1, 1976, when we had the huge flood in the big Thompson River through the canyon. And Lamb called Ken and said, "You're my special assistant on this," and sent him a letter of authorization, had to give us the authorization to go up there because it was obviously completely closed down by the police. I will never forget arriving at the mouth of the canyon and seeing nothing but huge volumes of water rushing down. There was no road. The other really impressive activity that I saw was that we went and looked down at the river at a very sharp curve, and it showed that the water had, during the night, had gone at least 25 feet high on the outside of that curve. Inside of that curve was a little house that had never been touched. So there's kind of centrifugal force at work. I want to also tell you about the wonderful people, in addition that we met. Harris Sherman, he was the head of the Water Quality Control Commission, and when I and others were appointed to that commission, when he realized that the new appointees really were serious about water quality, he told us to just go ahead and do it. He would come and manage the meeting, but we would do the work. And he said he never even read the packet anymore. He was on so many commissions that this one was put into our hands, and that was fabulous. The next one I want to mention is Joe Shoemaker. Joe was the chair of the powerful Joint Budget Committee in the legislature. And Ken took him down the South Platte River and showed him what a mess it was at that time. Joe took on the task and created what we have now, which is the beautiful South Platte River with boating and little waterfalls and parks, and started the Greenway Foundation, and we are the benefit of that. The next person I need to mention is Dr. Gilbert White. Dr. White has been known as the father of floodplain regulations, and he taught us the importance of keeping the land open so the flood would come through and not destroy population and lands. But he invited, when we really got into the urban drainage manual, which you saw in the last video, Ken wanted him to be a part of that. And he said, "No, not I. You should contact Jack Schaefer of the University of Colorado." Jack Schaefer was an incredible visionary in not only floodplains, but in water quality. And so he became the partner to help write the Urban Drainage Manual. I also have to mention, of course, Ron McLaughlin. Ron McLaughlin and Ken got together and created Wright McLaughlin Engineers. We kept Wright Water Engineers, so it was two companies. But McLaughlin and Ken worked together amicably for 18 years and was a successful consulting firm. At the end of those 18 years, he decided to start his own company, and it was an amicable departure, but he was very, very important in those 18 years with Ken as a partner. Then I need to mention, Felix Sparks. Ken has mentioned him, but he was a very, very special person. He was a general and a hero in the Second World War. In fact, if you go on Netflix you can get a 4-part movie regarding his heroism and what he did in the Second World War, and it's called The Liberator. That's because he liberated one of those concentration camps, and it is an inspiring film. So it's been a great ride for us. It's been 60 years of meeting wonderful people, of having wonderful people join the staff, and each one of them were important in the success of Wright Water Engineers. And so I'm happy to join you, all of you, and in joining us in this celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruth. My name is Jonathan Kelly, and it's amazing that this is my 20th year in running the Glenwood Springs office after taking the mantle from its founder, Bill Laura, who recently retired, as you saw on the videos. I'm privileged to work with a great staff here on the Western Slope, where we're able to provide our clients with a broad range of capabilities. Right now, we have really a balanced and diverse workload with new, exciting projects coming in every week, while continuing to provide quality service to our long-term clients, which I really believe is a hallmark of Wright Water Engineers and always has been. Integration with our Denver and Durango offices has never been better, which leads me to introduce Pete Foster, who manages our Durango office.
Thank you, Jonathan. My name is Pete Foster. I have the great pleasure to manage the Durango office. I am so grateful to get to work with such wonderful people. And I would like to take this time to introduce one of my favorite people, Patricia Flood.
Thanks, Pete. One of the factors contributing to Wright Water's success has been our long-term partnership with classical music radio. Wright Water began with the Denver station KVOD in the 1970s, but then switched to Colorado Public Radio when it took over the classical music programming. We get comments all the time from people who appreciate Wright Water's support of classical music and the CPR news. I'm honored to introduce our next guest, Monika Vischer, a 30-year veteran of Colorado Public Radio. Monika has been a wonderful friend to Wright Water Engineers over the years, and Monika is going to conduct an interview with Ken.
Thank you so much, Patricia, and hello, Ken. It is good to see you again.
Hello, Monika.
I always enjoy the times that we get to connect, and it's hard to believe that I feel like I've been at Colorado Public Radio for a long time, for 30 years, but it's only half as long as you have been leading the efforts of Wright Water Engineers. And it is quite an honor to be here and have a chance to speak with you. I've known Ken and Ruth for some time. I can assure you, on behalf of Colorado Public Radio, we are just thrilled in the long term to have such a vibrant relationship with Wright Water Engineers, because I think there is a symbiotic relationship, not just in your generous support, but in the creative endeavors of both of our organizations. And I wanted to ask you first, Ken, in just a few minutes that we have here to talk, can you talk to us about how your relationship with Colorado Public Radio began?
Well, my relationship with Colorado Public Radio began way, way back with the original old-fashioned, privately run KVOD station run by Gene Amel. We started there with wonderful programs. And when Gene Amel's department or organization ended, we joined with Colorado Public Radio and have been enjoying that relationship ever since.
And I made mention of this symbiotic relationship in terms of the creative connection. And I would love to hear your thoughts on what you see that creative connection to be between the work that you have done each day over the last 60 years and the music that you have so generously supported and find inspiring 24 hours a day on CPR Classical.
What we see as the relationship between Colorado Public Radio and the classical music department and Wright Water Engineers is one and the same. When we think of engineering, we also think of the beauty of public radio and the music. Ruth and I started out many, many years ago at age 18, ushering at the Tap Theater in Milwaukee on Chicago symphony programs. Enjoyed that very much. And so our life with classical music has continued on to this very day.
18 years old, that is young to be starting in this business. And we've heard to this point already some of, the origin story of Wright Water Engineers, which has been so exciting to watch and to hear about from your team and from Ruth and others. I'd love to hear from you, Ken, here today, what your plans were when you began Wright Water Engineers.
Well, when we started Wright Water Engineers in 1961, we had visions of serving the public, doing good engineering, and enjoying our participation in local and state government. And during the years, we've enjoyed meeting wonderful people and developing good friendships that have continued to this day.
And we've heard you talk about the company's biggest achievements. It's overwhelming to see the incredible impact that you have had, not just on Colorado, but elsewhere around the world. I would just love to hear more insight from you on what you consider the company's biggest achievement and how that compares for you to your biggest personal achievement in the company.
Well, Monika, we've had lots of great projects that we have enjoyed over the years, ranging from local projects here on the South Platte River in Denver. One of our jobs way back in the 1970s in Iran, where we worked for the British American Oil Company, and later for the National Iranian Oil Company after they had the revolution. But I think our greatest achievement is working with young people. Some of them were fresh out of college, and in that condition, we're able to convey to them our mode of operation, our dedication to professional ethics, business and ethics, and enjoying seeing the young people mature and grow into profitable and good engineers.
Yeah. And what do you see as the future of the company, the 60 years ahead?
Well, looking forward, we're hoping that the company can continue on serving the public and taking on good projects, developing young engineers into good business people and contributors to social justice, as well as public good.
And I just have one last question for you, Ken. If Ken Wright today had to give a little piece of advice to Ken Wright back when you started the company, a little word of wisdom, what would that be?
Well, I would say dedication and considering the benefits that engineers can give to the public good.
All right. Thank you very much. And again, it's a joy to be a part of this celebration today. And on behalf of Colorado Public Radio, we celebrate you and all that you've given back to the community. Thank you to you, to Ruth, and to your team.
Thank you, Monika. It was great seeing you again, and good luck in all of your good work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ken and Monika, for such a great interview. My name is Andrew Earls, and I am the Vice President of Water Resources here at Wright Water Engineers. I actually started at Wright Water Engineers as an intern in 1998, and I like to joke with people that I am the oldest serving intern because now I've been here for 22 years, and I've risen from being a low-level project engineer to the Vice President of Water Resources. And I have Shaw Yu, who's on this call, to thank for that, because when I started looking for a job as I was finishing my PhD, Dr. Yu said, well, you need to meet Jonathan Jones in Denver, Colorado. And that was the start of a wonderful thing. I've learned a lot over 20 years. I've learned an incredible amount of information and new skills from people like John and Ken and many of our adjunct scientists and engineers who are on the call. And now I'm at that point in my career where I'm still learning things, but I also have the ability to begin to train our next generation of engineers. And I'm really excited about that. As Ken mentioned, we do have a lot of excellent young engineers, and it's really exciting and fulfilling to be able to work with them and teach them new things and watch them grow and blossom in their careers. And I would now like to introduce you to one of these wonderful young engineers, a woman named Katie Knight. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I've had the great pleasure of starting my career at Wright Water. In the last 10 months, I have had the opportunity to work with such excellent scientists and engineers, including Ken Wright. And I think it's really a unique experience as a young engineer to get to work with someone who has such a deep wealth of knowledge in this field. And it has just been such a great opportunity to start my career at a company that has a 60-year history in water resource engineering. And next, I would like to introduce Natalie Caller, who I have already learned so much from, and she'll talk about what she sees in the future of Wright Water.
Great, thanks, Katie. When Sally asked me to address the future of Wright Water, I knew I had to mention forests, fires, and floods. Here at WWE, we get to work on projects that grapple with some of today's most pressing environmental, societal, and ethical dilemmas. How do we reduce post-fire hydrologic and geomorphic risk when fuel treatment budgets are limited, and while acknowledging fire's natural role on the landscape? As populations continue to boom, can we still meet flood control objectives while being stewards of the natural stream corridor? Does an engineered channel have to degrade stream form and function? I'm honored and excited to work for a firm that strives to be a leader in our field as we identify sustainable, cutting-edge solutions to these challenges. Our celebration here at Wright Water of natural channel design and pre-fire hazard planning are great examples. We maintain our position by dedicating time and budget to the consistent and thorough review of contemporary literature, through our relationships with industry, government, and academic collaborators, and by urging our staff members like me to continue the pursuit of educational and professional enrichment activities. I'm excited to see what the future holds for the bright minds of Wright Water. And next, Jane Cleary will moderate our question and comment session.
Thank you, Natalie. I am excited about hearing from each of you that have joined us today in a time for some open comments. And the way that we'll do this is that I'll ask you to use the hand raise function and let me call on you, and then unmute yourself and share for a minute or two, and then remute yourself. And I'm actually going to start us off to say that I came over to Wright Water Engineers about 28 years ago to talk to Ken in an informational interview, and we talked about this picture of him mountain climbing. And I had recently climbed Mount Rainier, and I think that's about what we talked about, and I've been here for 28 years now. So what I'd like to hear some of your stories during this next time. And we're actually going to start off with a longtime friend of Ken's, Hart Axley, who couldn't be here with us today. And Patty's going to play a few video remarks from Hart.
Raise your glasses on high and a toast to our Ken, so distinguished and fine on this special day. Raise your glasses on high and a toast to our Ken, so broad, smiling, handsome today. We wish him long life and much happiness, a lifetime of joy and of great success. We all pledge our love in support of him and pray for God's blessings to guide him. Raise your glasses on high and a toast to our Ken, with our wish for long life and good health. With our wish for long life and good health. On Wisconsin, plunge right through that line. Run the ball clear around Chicago, touchdown sure this time. You rah, on Wisconsin, fight on for her fame. Fight, fellows, fight, we'll win this game. Varsity, you rah, Wisconsin. Praise to thee, we sing. Praise to thee, our alma mater. You rah, Wisconsin.
Bravo. Ken and Hart were at University of Wisconsin together and long-term ski club members. Next, I'd like to call on Jen Keyes.
I did not attend the University of Wisconsin, although I will tell you that I actually did consider it. I considered applying for my undergraduate degree there. So go Wisconsin. I think we do have a couple of new employees actually that do have some connections there. So that's kind of exciting, I'm sure, for Ken to have a legacy of folks that went to the University of Wisconsin. Okay, and sorry, can you hear me a little better? Usually my headphone is better. Can you hear this better?
Yeah,
okay.
That's better. Thanks, Jen.
Sorry, thanks. The days of the technology, right? It's great because it got us all together, but you don't always know what you sound like on the other end of it. So I'd like to share a story about Ken and I going out and doing some field work in Routt County. And boy, Ken, I can't even remember what year that was, but I want to say it was at least about 5 or 6 years ago. And we had a rancher who had cut into a pretty erosive mountainside. And as a result, there was a lot of erosion that then deposited on their adjoining neighbor, who was not, of course, very happy about it. So they called Wright Water Engineers because we do great work in that arena. And so Ken and I went out, and there were no roads into this area from the adjoining property, who they were our clients. So we took ATVs in. And Ken, I think you must have been in your late 80s for sure. And we had to not only take these ATVs through pretty rough terrain, we then had to climb up this mountainside and through a lot of down timber and beautiful aspens that were up to. It was a really beautiful place, but I just was so impressed, and Ken had just a whole plan of how to evaluate the site, and it was so fun, and Ken was so great to learn from. He was so organized in his thoughts. And we finished that job up, the field work, and then we proceeded to work at Ken's kitchen table or dining room table over the weekends to try to finish some of the reports. And I just really enjoyed the experience with working with Ken, and I just was impressed how enthusiastic he was and how he really was absolutely more than willing to go out and go above and beyond what that project required, and to get out in a pretty remote area that was not easy to get out to. So it was a super fun experience for me. I learned a lot, and I'm really grateful that I've had the opportunity to work with Ken and to be a part of Wright Water Engineers. And other people asked really good questions too. Monika, I thought you did a really great job on the future too, of what do you see for Wright Water? And I think that's always super important, is to remember those really fun projects and experiences, and then too, to build that into the vision for the future. So that's my
Thank you, Jen. That was great. Next, we'd like to hear from our long-term friend, Dr. Shaw Yu, Professor Emeritus at University of Virginia. And he's got some photos from years ago to share with us and a few remarks.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you have the slides, please?
They're coming up here, I think.
First of all, my hearty congratulations to this monumental milestone. And it is a pleasure for me to be participating in this great party. Next, please. Next slide. Well, of course, again, congratulations to especially Mr. and Mrs. Ken Wright. And it's founded, as we all hear, over the years with great contributions to the water resources engineering field. And we at the University of Virginia, me especially, are very, very proud of two outstanding graduates in John Jones and Andrew Earls. And then also some other graduates did work sometime for the company too. But I will be concentrating on the collaborate work with especially John and Andrew. But again, happy 92nd birthday, Ken. I wish I would be as healthy as you are when I get to that age. I'm 83. Next slide, please. Mostly I concentrate, as I mentioned, on international connections and contributions, especially to the Far East. Can we get back to the slide? I guess I lost the slide for a moment. Can you all see it?
We lost it here temporarily too.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
First of all, mention the top right picture. This is a very, very good picture. I dug it up. This was back in 1994. UWRRC had a meeting at John Jones' house. I was next to John, and we were both young and handsome then. And you see some old friends over there. And but for the interest of time, let me move on. The lower right, Jonathan was attending a conference upon our invitation to Taiwan. And see the big words background. This is the Vischer Reservoir. I'd like to mention, now we hear the chip problem. The semiconductor company in Taiwan rely on the water from this reservoir. When Jonathan visited, I believe this was 2001. And he was also invited to the Chengdu China Conference 2005, but I was unable to get a picture. Next slide. Next one, please.
Next slide.
Well, here, no, the previous one. Yes. Top right, you see Andrew worked so hard when he was actually, I like to stress, he was not just a research assistant. Actually, he acted more like my co-PI. He not only helped me with everything, but he also organized the research team. He was helping everybody. Many times he actually was directing them. Lower right, you see Andrew right there. This was a conference that I organized back in 1997. And then the last picture, Mr. and Mrs. Andrew Earls, and you see some of the other research assistants at that time. Next slide. And 2001, there was a conference in Taipei. Of course, Andrew sat very prominently with some familiar faces. You see Eric Strecker, you see Harrix, and behind him, Michael Ports, and of course, Richard Field. Then the lower right, you see Andrew there with Elizabeth. This was in Nanchang, China, and then in Shenzhen, China also. So both Jonathan and Andrew have helped a lot with in fact, in this case, the world, especially in this case in China, Taiwan, Singapore, and Korea. And what they did here, technology transfer-wise, helped them to launch the so-called Spongy City programs, and in Taiwan, also the BMP programs. And they are using a lot the international BMP database that Jane has been maintaining. Next, please. The top right one, of course, you see Andrew there enjoying a meal. To the left of him, Larry Kaufman. And the Chinese professor to my right is Professor Jia. He is also a UWRC member. This was during the 8th conference in Beijing. And there was a big one in 2016 that Andrew also participated. In 2018, Jonathan was unable to go, but Andrew went also in Xi'an. And of course, we do have a former employee of yours, been quite lucky, the lower right one. In fact, they were actually working very hard. I must call him in North Carolina to let him know. He didn't know about this picture yet. Thank you. That's all my presentation. And thank again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yu. We appreciate your long-term friendship and the many international adventures with you. And I think to probably close up our time here, I'd like to call on Harry Sherman.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, great. Well, I've already had a chance to say a few words, but I can't resist adding a few others. First, I just want to say to Ken and Ruth, the two of you are absolutely amazing. I just marvel at the differences and the impact that you have made, not only within our great state of Colorado, but nationally and internationally. I think about the great work at Machu Picchu and other areas, and it's really, truly remarkable. I feel very, very blessed by our lifelong friendship, and I just want you to know how special you are to me. And to my friends at Wright Water, we've been involved in many of the important natural resources in Colorado over the past 40 years. And I just want to thank all of you for your exceptional work, your truly high quality work, and your commitment to the public and to what is so important in preserving Colorado's environment. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. I want to wish Wright Water the absolute best on your 60th anniversary, and here's to an additional 60 years in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Harris. And with that, we'll turn it over to John Jones to close us out for the day.
Jane, you're ever modest. Jane Clary did not introduce herself when she started. She's been an extraordinary contributor to our company. As Professor Yu mentioned, she manages the International Stormwater BMP database, which is the world's most widely used database for stormwater quality management. And she has been an invaluable contributor in so many ways. So Jane, thank you for serving as our moderator. A couple more thanks now before we close this out. And we promise we're almost done. Okay, if Sally and Christine would come over. This is Christine Thrush, who we're privileged to have serve as our business manager and controller. Christine, you've been with us now about 16 years, haven't you?
Yeah, 16 years. It's been an awesome ride and love working here.
And we're just all so easy to work with as a group of engineers on billing.
Yes.
Never a problem for Christine. And we're joined also by our phenomenal communications manager, Sally Cribbs. Sally has put this entire event together, as she has done so many times over the years in so many different ways for our company. Sally, we're indebted to you, and we do actually have a gift for you. Thankfully, I didn't buy it. Christine bought it.
Awesome. Thank you for all your work that you've done. This has been a great 60th anniversary party, and it's gone off without a hitch, and everybody's enjoying themselves. So thank you.
Well, thanks so much. It was my pleasure, and you all were so easy to work with. I think some of you missed your calling. And I had a lot of good help too. So thank you.
Some of us might have missed our call, but not too many of us. Okay, just a couple more words and then we will be done. We wanted to give great thanks to a wonderful husband and wife team that prepared the video that you watched. Marisa and Evan own a company called Reel to Reel Explorers. They were extremely patient with us. They came back repeatedly and they were very professional. And we hope you're listening and we're indebted to you. The other thing we wanted to say is that Ken Wright had the idea, as he's had many times over the years, that it would be nice to hand out silver dollars to everyone after the event, and Christine will be doing that. I was kind of interested to know that Christine, I think, Christine, you bought these from Amazon, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I got them from a local dealer here, but for a silver dollar, how much do you think they cost?
Well, you told me, so I know. But Christine said that to buy a silver dollar now, you've got to spend $40, if you can believe it. Wow. So back when Ken and Ruth started the company, Wayne, I would guess a dollar was worth $1. But anyway, our staff, who we so greatly appreciate, will be getting these. And did anyone have any final thing here, or can we wrap up? Okay, in conclusion, as we've said many times today, we cannot thank all of you adequately for your contributions to our company. It's a little emotional for me now because we mean that so sincerely. And we hope you've enjoyed the last hour or so, and we wish you all the best. And thanks so much for joining us for our 60th anniversary. Best wishes to all. Bye-bye.